Hello, this is a Chessodoro game review. It was a 10+0 rapid game between around 1300 rated players on Chess.com. Student is playing white. And he wrote to me, I think this shows quite well how I am able to get an advantage often, but I'm not able to convert it. I see some tactics, but not too often. So we'll see. Yeah, it was a very dramatic endgame in this game. So let's start. E4, E5, knight C3, so white is going for some Vienna game probably. And D6, a bit passive, like Philidor move, yeah, solid but passive. Well, the main moves are knight C6 or knight F6, yeah. Then white can choose to go for Vienna or this line, yeah, some sort of hybrid. So yeah, many options here. D6, it's kind of Philidor, yeah. Bishop C4, you could also do it like continue in Vienna spirit, yeah, or King's Gambit spirit and go for a more aggressive F4 here. Okay, you chose Bishop C4, Knight F6. Well, this reminds me a bit already about the famous mating pattern with 3 light pieces. So let me quickly show you this. Maybe you know it. It's called the legal mate. Yeah, H3. And now you can pause the video, yeah, and find a nice combination. So white goes knight e5, and if black takes the queen, we have a nice mate like this, yeah, with 3 pieces. I'm sure you've probably seen this. And if instead of taking the queen, yeah, they take the knight, maybe you can pause here, yeah. How do we regain everything? We do this, and win the knight back. Okay, so this kind of reminded me of this d6 and quickly bringing the pieces out. So opponent played knight f6, and you went knight f3. Also could go not block the f pawn, yeah. If you want to keep the Vienna ideas alive, you could go something like with f4, yeah, since he closed his bishop with d6. Something like this could happen, yeah. Okay, knight f3 and bishop g4. I think this early bishop development is not good in such structures. Black should, yeah, because this bishop often gets kicked around, and he's often doing nothing on g6, yeah, if he retreats. So instead, black should just finish development, finish castle, and go for this Philidor setup, or as it's called, black line, yeah. So bishop g4, you played h3, he took, you took. So already a nice advantage for white. You got the bishop pair for free, yeah. Now we need just to continue developing, and in the future this has big potential, yeah. If position opens up. So bishop e7, you went knight d5. Not a bad move, but I think we don't need to move the same piece twice, and we don't need such exchanges, yeah, when we're not fully like developed. Of course you're going for tricks, I see, yeah, like this and this, yeah, but opponent of course doesn't have to take, yeah. They may be castling and then taking. So instead, other suggestions would be maybe just castle, yeah, castle, knight c6. Now we kind of have to look for this. So knight e2, castle, maybe a3 just to guard the bishop, and we slowly develop everything, yeah, just simple about. But knight d5, not a bad move, just maybe on general principles, yeah, it's not a mistake. So castles, and you took the bishop. So this ended quite well, actually. You now have 2 bishops after castling, yeah, slight advantage for white. You very well played opening for your level, I would say. You have now bishop pair against 2 knights, but still we have many pawns on the board, yeah. So it's not clear whether 2 bishops are better at the moment, yeah. We need to slowly make up for their potential, yeah. We slowly need to open some break the position, then they will become more powerful. So knight c6 and d3. I think here you missed one moment. You missed this knight d4 with b followed by b5. So we need to prevent that. We need to go c3. Okay, you missed that, but then I think suddenly your advantage disappears because opponent finds a good move, finds, yeah, and he now manages to exchange one of your bishops, yeah, which is often a task for black when they are fighting against bishop pairs. So you went bishop b3 and a5, c3 and knight e6. But now opponent shows his misunderstanding of position. He should definitely get rid of this strong potentially piece. Yeah, he should take the bishop, and then this game is around equal with chances for both sides. Yeah, you have bishop versus knight situation, plenty of pawns, so anything can happen in this game. So but instead he retreated. Maybe he wants to keep the knight for some kingside play, but yeah, and now you took the knight. So I think now you're showing you're kind of mis-evaluating this. Yeah, bishop strength against two knights. So definitely you should not give away this powerful bishop. You should slowly improve the position, like instead of bishop takes, yeah, you should go a4, trying to a bit opening the position, and maybe prepare now a couple of plans for white. Yeah, maybe you want to go something like queen f3 and prepare d4 at some moment, or you want to prepare maybe f4. You see, and we're starting slowly to open the position. So f4, how it can be prepared, maybe king h2, g3, yeah, to strengthen everything up, and g4, then follow up with some heavy pieces defending the king, yeah, like this. So it's a fight with bishop pair against the knights. Yeah, for the moment black is doing fine, but big potential for white to open up the game eventually. So but you took the knight. Yeah, queen takes. Now rook e1, bit of a strange move. Yeah, you should be thinking about f4, I think. For example, a4, yeah, just to kind of ask what are these pawns doing. If he closes the position, you can even take and play f4. Yeah, and I think maybe some chances for white to get an edge. Yeah, you have already a nice passed pawn here. So yeah, you should not put the rook. I'm not sure where it's going. Yeah, if black doesn't play d5, what is this rook doing actually here? He's just preventing. But opponent played d5, which is dubious move, because now it kind of justifies your rook move. Yeah, you went here and he lets your rook get opened. So he should have just kind of improved his position. Maybe keep the position closed, something like this. Yeah, keep it closed, get space. Yeah, looks for some squares for the knight and so on. So not open. Yeah, this doesn't make sense, this move. Yeah, you put the rook and he just immediately opens your rook. So ed, knight d5 and d4. You went for the spin immediately. Could also maybe improve a bit, wait. Yeah, but d4 is okay. d4 is okay. e4. Yeah, he found now a good move. Otherwise this pawn gets weak. Yeah, if he plays something f6, yeah, you can take. So he went e4, trying to keep it blocked. And now you went queen b3, but I'm not sure what queen is doing here. Yeah, maybe you should still go for this. And if he pushes, then you push, yeah, and you get the center rolling. So queen b3. Not a mistake, but I'm not seeing a plan related to this. But actually you found some improvisation with f3. So instead something like this could happen, and you can play it slower, yeah. But you went f3, immediately looking for some tactics. And now I think opponent made this kind of mistake move. Not really a mistake, but it's a sharp move. Black needs to calculate a lot to make this move. So instead he should have just guarded the pawn. And now a very sharp position. Not sharp, but chances for both sides, I would say. The position not clear how you're doing this, whether you're doing this against e4 pawn, yeah. So but a4 is a good move to trying to weaken these pawns. So e3 he went, but now here's a critical moment. I think first big critical moment of the game. You went for this tactic, bishop takes e3, and immediately opponent made a mistake. Yeah, so he didn't understand why he pushed e3, just to kind of blunder this pawn. So here he needed not to take on e3. But I hope you saw this line, a4, because now we don't have this queen e6 here. The queen gets kicked out. And how are you regaining the piece? I hope you saw that you get a pin like this, even with the king coming up, and we hit the knight back. Yeah, so a4 was the move to see. in your calculations. And another move was this, just giving up the pawn, and black could go for this sort of play. Kind of reminds me of some sacrifices in Marshall Gambit, in even in Ruy Lopez, yeah? Like white gets a bit in trouble now. Knight f4 is happening, so maybe we should find such a move, but if we find the best moves, the game can basically just end in a perpetual, yeah, in a draw. So a very powerful idea for black to play for compensation, yeah, because we kind of have weakened a bit the king side, and this powerful knight comes here to f4. So yeah, many options here, but instead he kind of made a mistake, yeah, not a like a blunder. I wouldn't call a blunder, but yeah, he loses a pawn now. Rook e3, and you have a clear advantage, yeah, in the rook endgame, big chances to win. You're a pawn up, this pawn is weak, yeah, and you immediately go after that pawn. Good move, gaining space. Other idea could be just kind of activate the rooks like this, yeah, more of an engine line, but what you played is perfectly fine for human, yeah, to understand. You gain space, and then you probably need to exchange one pair of rooks, yeah, to convert this endgame. So a4, h4, yeah, slowly improving. I really like how you play here at the moment, yeah, no need to rush. We have pawn up, and you kind of even provoke opponent to make a mistake. h5, h5, this move loses another pawn. Basically he had to do something like this, yeah, counter-attacking your f pawn, so you cannot easily take on e6, but then you can do this sort of nice remaneuver of the rooks. For example, if he goes here, then he loses a pawn, yeah, because we kind of, this rook now nicely defends from the side the pawn, so we are ready to capture. And if he goes to defend the pawn, then we kind of do this nice shuffle with the rooks. Yeah, you see this rook was defending f3, and now we get it back and we advance forward, yeah, so that was the best he could do. But now after g5 he's just losing this e6 pawn because this rook has to go. Yeah, another critical moment arises here where you missed basically a simple capture. So you went king g3, but why not take the pawn? Yeah, you did everything right, all your strategy worked. Now you just need to cash in basically, yeah. So what he did, he played, if he plays bishop rook f4, you just need a bit of calculation. Yeah, you take, but then you take with a check, and you take another pawn. Yeah, so many pawns, we're totally winning. Rook f5, yeah, you missed this, so this was kind of second critical moment of the game. You missed that you can just capture the pawn. Yeah, totally winning after this move. So time situation, maybe you played too fast, I think, yeah, because it was a 10-minute game, and I'm seeing here you have both like 8.5 minutes, so you played super fast, yeah. Like this endgame you should both have like a third of the time, like I don't know, 3 minutes, something like that at this moment, yeah. So you kind of blitzed out the opening by 10-minute game. Maybe you should play longer games, yeah, like at least with increment, yeah, not to rush kind of through time, yeah. Maybe try 10 plus 5 or 15 plus 10 even, yeah. To kind of improve this thinking, yeah, try to think longer, yeah, to improve this thinking process and your calculation a bit, not just blitz out, yeah. So king g3, rook f8, rook f1, yeah. I don't like this move because it's a passive move, yeah. Rook hates to defend like this from the front, the pawn, usually, unless you push it, yeah. But yeah, kind of pushed in the game, so I kind of justify this move then if you push f4, yeah, later. But usually when defending we want to do it from the side, yeah, unless the pawn is passed pawn, yeah. If it's passed pawn, then of course we want to put the rook behind. But here again this maneuver could have happened, yeah. Kind of remember this shuffling of the rooks maneuver at this kind of second time in the game, yeah. And then we kind of bring back the rooks again. This rook is keeping an eye, and we are threatening at some moment to take, yeah, if they're not guarding, and we might exchange one pair of rooks, which would be great. So rook f1, but you pushed, so this rook f1 maybe just maybe I'm too harsh, yeah, about this move rook f1. But here opponent basically opened the position on himself, basically allowing you to invade his position. He should have just stayed put. Yeah, he should stay, maybe move the king and stay in the position. Yeah, not opening anything, but when he's pawn down and he's opening a path for your rooks. Yeah, so that doesn't make sense. So rook fe1. You attack this pawn. Maybe you could move immediately on open line. Yeah, and try to invade somewhere. Yeah, attack from on open lines. Yeah, but rook e1 was also good. Yeah, rook d1 example line. Yeah, if he tries to counter attack after this, probably we're winning. Yeah, we just cover entry squares and our own rook will invade the position, and we have pawn up on this flank. So rook fe1, he defended, nice move. Yeah, activating the rook, and he blundered, not blundered, but he just gave away the pawn. He could try something like counter-attacking, like final counter-attack like this. And a very nice move defending this pawn before taking that. Yeah, and we're forcing kind of the rook exchange like this, maybe. Yeah, because this is hanging, should be winning here as well. King f7, now you eat second pawn, so it should be winning. Yeah, we just need to, basically in this endgame, what I would like to do is exchange one pair of rooks, yeah? Because with two rooks, he still has some, our king might not be so safe, yeah, against two rooks. But if we manage to exchange one pair of rooks, it will be an easy win, I think, then. So, yeah, you check the king, nice move, yeah, bringing him back, cutting him off, and kind of just defending everything, yeah, with this rook move, advancing the pawn. This is good. You could also play like this, same thing, yeah. King f3, rook d1, c5, rook f1, king goes forward, he goes passive to on defense. Yeah, now you see, now this is not a passive rook, this is an actually rook supporting a pass pawn. So kind of understand the difference, yeah, when the rook is passive, just defending. But if it's a pass pawn, we definitely want to put the rook behind the pawn, yeah. So rook e1, and now, yeah, this is a bit of a danger of this king walking around, yeah, between two rooks. He had this move, but still it's winning. It's winning for white. Yeah, he opens the rook, so that's why we have to be a bit careful when playing against rook pair, yeah, in the rook endgame. So we usually want to exchange one pair of rooks when having like two pawns up. So rook e6, rook f3, but this is still winning. Yeah, your king got activated, he has no more checks, and now actually a critical moment will soon arise. Here you're totally winning, you won this pawn. Maybe, yeah, just exchange the rook. Yeah, this was a nice move, just trying to exchange, yeah, or help the advanced pawn unless he doesn't exchange, yeah. So rook b8, but here is the critical moment, and you played with the wrong rook this time. You went for this back rank checks, but maybe you can pause the video and find the winning move here. Okay, here were some even tactics, yeah. This was another winning move, like tactics, yeah. Kind of split the rooks, you win, yeah, you exchange one pair of rooks. But the actual winning move was you moved the wrong rook. Here is the winning move, and we go for mate like this. So instead you move the wrong rook, yeah. So this was like the critical moment, final critical moment of the game. And he took the pawn, and now suddenly his rooks got active. He won the pawn back, so suddenly you're just one pawn up, but his rooks got so active. Now your king is a bit in danger, yeah, from all these checks, and he has some counter, and you don't have mate. Maybe you thought you have a mate somewhere, so you went for this. And now I think the final mistake was this, which let the all advantage slip. So still here you had some something like this move, and then you could go for this, but it's much harder to win, of course, here, because his rooks are active. Maybe he will go after some pawns, but king is also in danger, yeah. Black king has to watch out not to get checkmated, so this was a chance still to win the game. Instead you went kind of all in with these rooks, but they got stuck, yeah. There is no mate, there is no mate here, and now he's ready for some counter attack, yeah, some checks, maybe go after the pawns, and your rooks are like in the wetlands, yeah, they're stuck here, they kind of have to make a couple moves just to get out of this, and there is no mate, yeah, so you kind of got stuck with these rooks in the game. So you went after some checks, but there is no mate, and you kind of just repeated the position, which was repetition, yeah, and game ended in draw, unfortunately, yes, for you. So let's make a conclusion. Very nice. Basically, this game was all about this rook endgame, yeah, so critical. So what can I say on conclusion? Nice opening, you gained bishop pair edge, just needed to keep them, not exchange like 14 move, here it is. Yeah, opponent had a chance to exchange his bishop, but then you voluntarily exchange it, yeah? Maybe try to look more of a topic about bishop pair, how they can be powerful, yeah? Why we need to kind of keep them. And some model games, bishop pair against some knights, endgames, yeah? Try to watch this type of videos to understand, yeah, why they are so, why they have such a big potential. Okay, and second critical moment was this 20 move, yeah, this bishop takes e3, where kind of opponent went with e3 without much thought, and he just kind of went pawn down, yeah, without much thinking. He could have gained a very nice, this compensation we can learn from, yeah, when we're losing a pawn, go for activity, yeah, this was a very nice compensation for black. Third thing, nice slow impro in rook endgame, but missing pawn win, yeah, with this on 28th move you missed, yeah, it kind of blitzed out the moves. You just took 2 seconds, I see, here to move. So maybe you should have thinking, yeah, you have plenty of time, like 8 minutes in a 10-minute game. Maybe think a bit, yeah, how you can improve the position. Don't rush with just blitzing out, yeah, and here you clearly just missed that this pawn is undefended, yeah, so okay. And so long maneuvers, but you won a second pawn and you were totally winning. And finally, not finally, fourth thing, move to 52 critical moment, you could have won instantly. So where is this? Yeah, this was this rook f8, yeah, here was the final critical moment where it was a clear win for you, yeah. Just needed to find this sort of checkmate, yeah, not from the back rank, but from the sides. Okay. And 5, your rooks got stuck and there was no mate, yeah, this was the final mistake which decided the game and ended in a draw. So, main takeaway from this game, as far as I see it, is in double rook endgames, when you're totally like 2 pawns up, yeah, try to exchange one pair of rooks, not to get the opponent, yeah, the counterplay. And always look for some tactics, yeah, tactics follow us in every move usually during the game. We just need to kind of feel this, it comes with experience, yeah, to feel these critical moments when we can just decide the game or increase the advantage, yeah. So kind of showed you these moments in the game, yeah, there are, well, like 4 of them. So these happened, yeah. So I hope you enjoyed the game. I'll make you a nice plan how to reduce the blunders, yeah, and overall improvement. So see you around. Bye bye.